Hello, everybody. I am Susan Sprinkle. I'm the controller here at 365 Health. And I have been here 3.5 months now, so I'm still learning along with you all. So I will say, if you have questions, let me know. If you have changes, recommendations, just let me know. I'm open to whatever. So we will get started. So this is the 2023 Spring Fair Cashier Supervisor Training. And the agenda today is here. I won't go through that too much, but on the next page, so what's new in 2023? We do have a new name. We are now officially 365 Health Inc. So all of our marketing has been changed to reflect the new name. We're still making a few changes that haven't happened yet, but that is our new legal official name, 365 Health Inc. Masks are highly encouraged at the fairs, but not mandatory per 365 Health, but some locations might require a mask. So you can find out. COVID vaccines will be offered free at some select fairs, but not all fairs. And the Square terminals will be used this year to take all payments, credit cards, debit cards, cash, check, and vouchers. And the goal with that is to simplify the reconciliation process by using the Square to keep track of all the payment types. So there are available discounts for the volunteers. There's packages available if you register online. And then those, is that the right discount code? For the free baseline health.
Yeah, so all the cashier supervisors and anyone on the leadership planning team for any site can get the free baseline screenings, which are blood chem and A1C, and then you'll use that discount code at checkout.
But you do need to register online for that.
Yes.
If you want to walk in and do your screenings, there is 20% off all the screenings, and that will be done at the fair itself.
Or online.
Or online. So the cashier supervisor responsibilities, you will work with your site coordinator to recruit your volunteer cashiers. You'll supervise and train your cashiers. You'll issue refunds, process add-on tasks as needed. You'll be responsible for counting the money at the end of the fair. And please note that I am asking 2 people to count the money this year and to sign off on the counts. That's really important for our controls. So please do that. And then please return all your cash, checks, vouchers, supplies, and materials to the office after your fair. So the cashier supervisor, you'll have 1 at each site. Cashiers 2 to 4, depending on your fair size. They'll sit at the cashier's station, greet participants, check complete forms, process payments, and please do not leave any money or forms unattended at any time during the fair. If you could contact your site coordinator at least 2 weeks prior to the fair to introduce yourself, make sure that they have your contact information. And super important, confirm that there is a Wi-Fi network available and get the password. The squares will need a Wi-Fi network. And sometimes, depending on your location, it might take a couple of weeks to get a network set up for you. So please, as I learned at Regis, please do this a couple of weeks prior to the fair so that you have that available. Determine how many cashier volunteers you might need. And here's kind of a guideline for how many cashiers. Usually the first hour and a half is the busiest, so you could consider having additional people up front, and then they can leave as the lines subside or help out in other areas. Some supplies you might need, well, you will need, one thing is cash, the starter cash. A minimum of $150 is a good start. Cash box to store your cash, checks, and vouchers. A registration form box if you want to keep those in one certain place. Extension cords, office supplies, tables and chairs will be supplied for you, and then all of the other supplies we will supply for you also. So you will be training your cashier volunteers, so you can have them watch the training presentation that'll be provided after the training, walk them through the square sale instructions and the cashier procedures with them before the start of the fair. On the day of the fair, it's helpful to arrive at least 1 hour before your fair start time. Your cashier volunteers should arrive at least 30 minutes before. Set up your cashier station either first thing in the morning or the day before if you have that opportunity. Supervisor volunteers, reinforce training, assist participants with refunds or add-on tests. Any problems that might occur, again, you'll be counting, reconciling the money and returning everything to the office as soon as possible after your fair. And then these are some items that'll be included in your box that you can put on your table. And you can also provide a chair too if participants need to sit while they're paying, if that's helpful, and direct the line so that everything's flowing good at the fair. Here is just some screening information, costs, what screenings will be available at the fair. Not too much on that one.
And teams will get this sheet, but not with your cashier supplies. They'll come with the actual health fair supplies and they'll be in the registration area.
So this is a copy of the registration form. This is the walk-in registration form. It is 3 parts. The top white copy goes to the lab. The green middle copy is for the cashier. You will keep the green copy. And then the bottom white copy is for the participant. So when you get the forms, review them, make sure that the yellow section is filled out with all their information. Make sure that the information is legible, that you can read it and we can read it later. And direct the participant back to the form check area if they're unsure which screenings that they want to purchase. Make sure that they signed the form, and also if they are Medicare Part B beneficiaries, they need to read and sign at the bottom. And the age is noted in the form at the top, so you don't have to ask them. Hopefully they filled that out, so you don't have to ask them about that.
Yeah, and I think really quick before we move on as well, the bottom copy of the participant, that is a change this year. So y'all are probably used to it being a yellow sheet. So that has changed. And then Corky pointed out on the last one that if they did happen to miss form check, that you all can act as the witness if they do need it signed, as long as everything else on their form is complete.
Cool. So there will be medical education volunteers available that can assist participants on choosing which test selections that they would like. It is not appropriate for cashiers to advise the participants on which tests to purchase. And if you're getting a lot of test questions or participants don't have their forms filled out, please seek assistance from your site coordinator so that they can help out with that. So this is the cashier box that you'll be filling out. So verify that all the screenings are marked with an X in the left column of the cashier box. Enter the price for each test in the total column. And ask every participant if they would like to make a donation to 365 Health. It's just easier if you ask everybody. And then enter the amount of the donation if they choose to donate in the total column. Total all the amounts and write it in the total column or the total box at the bottom. And then please make sure that you mark the method of payment in the payment column. And if there is more than one payment, just put an X next to each payment type. And if a voucher is used, mark the voucher payment method also. The vouchers are treated just like cash. And I'm going to try this and see if you can write, if this works. Up by the voucher, if you can write in the dollar amount of what the voucher was used for, that might be helpful in reconciling if we know how much those vouchers were.
What if they have more than one voucher that they're being used? Do you want them to write like 45 for this voucher, 35 for this voucher?
That would be helpful if
Okay.
they have more than one voucher, list each one separately. So we'll see if this works. If you have any other ideas, let me know.
Is the intent only one form of payment?
No, they can use multiple.
They can use more.
Forms.
We can check
Mhm.
each box they use.
Mhm.
So if they have a combination of check and cash,
Yeah,
you put it accordingly.
Mhm. And then on the back of the registration form is these optional screenings. And the participants will take this form to the different screening stations if they're available at the fair. And we do recommend that they take the completed form to their doctor to discuss any issues that might show up. And do try and find out what additional screenings are available at your fair, just for your own knowledge, and you can help the participants with what else is available at the fair.
Who will know that? The coordinator?
Mhm. Yeah, typically the site coordinator, that hopefully they'll have like a map or
Yeah.
a list of screening. So I would just ask the site coordinator if they can have that also available at y'all's table.
Yeah.
Just if, in case people ask.
And we'll have a copy of this in your box, just with the screening prices, the regular screening prices and the volunteer prices. So for volunteers that are doing walk-in registration, they'll use the same registration form, just write the discounted prices in the total column. And on the square, you'll see that the volunteer prices are below the regular prices on the main menu, and they do start with a V for
Mhm.
volunteer. And then if you can remember, write volunteer on the top of the registration form, just to point that out that they're volunteers. And again, donations, just please ask everyone. They're very critical and allow us to provide free blood tests and screenings to those who can't afford them. So these are the types of payments that are accepted. And as I said, all the payments will be recorded in Square. So there's cash, checks. For banking purposes, we can still use the 9 Health Services Inc. stamps, and that will be included in your box. Or they can write 365 Health in the line, the payee line. Endorse the back of the check with a deposit stamp and write the participant registration number on the memo line. And then credit cards, we do Google Pay and Apple Pay. Vouchers, again, they're same as cash, and we'll have 3 different types of vouchers. They'll either be $80 or $45 in value. And just note that if people have a health savings account credit card, they may be declined by the Square. We haven't figured out why yet, but that is happening, but they can get a receipt and then submit reimbursement for that. So this is a sample of one of the vouchers. This is for the blood chemistry and the A1C screening. And like I said, there'll be 3 vouchers available at the fairs. This one for $80, the blood chemistry screening only for $45, and then a colon cancer screening for $45. So the site coordinators will receive the vouchers to give out at their discretion. There is an option to apply the voucher to different screenings of equal or lesser value if needed, but I don't think we want to advertise that option. It's just if somebody is complaining or has a problem, you do have that option to apply the voucher to something else. Please write the participant's name and the site number or the site name on the voucher, just so we can track those. And the colon cancer screening vouchers do need to be filled out on the back of the voucher. So that's really, really important. And then again, mark the registration form that the payment method was voucher, and all of the vouchers do need to be returned to the office here.
and are they included in the cash box,
The vouchers.
the vouchers?
The vouchers
Mhm.
are being sent separately to the site coordinator. So they'll have all of those, but typically it's
No.
housed, okay. After.
When they use a voucher,
Mhm.
do we put the voucher with the cash?
We'll get there.
Okay,
Okay.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
included in the reconciliation.
okay.
Okay, part of our-
And something too, I wanted to mention with the colon cancer screening kit voucher, the part that she was talking about where there's parts on the back to fill out. We just need to make sure that they filled everything out and there's been a witness signed. So if that hasn't happened, send them back to the colon cancer educator and they will get that all taken care of and then send them back to you.
Is there going to be one of those people at every fair? you know?
A lot of the fairs will have someone from the CU Cancer Center who will be there. The fairs that don't, we're strongly encouraging the team to get a volunteer that can staff that area. So there should be at least one person responsible who knows that process that can help participants get that voucher and do it properly.
Okay.
Great question.
So that's where they get the voucher.
Yes, they'll get that voucher at
From
the
that
colon
colon.
cancer. Some
Okay.
sites will have the other vouchers at the cashier table and then just instruct participants to ask you for it, or it can be handed out in the registration area. I would ask your site coordinator how they want to organize that because each fair might be a little different. I know it was kind of a non-answer to your question. My apologies.
Okay.
So online registration is available on our website, 365health.org. And participants who do register online will print their forms at home and bring them to the fair. So the online registrants will not come through the cashier line except to purchase additional screenings on site, to request refunds for blood screenings that were not able to be completed. And note that the actual refund for online participants will not be done at the fair. It will be done back here at the office. So this is a copy of the add-ons form. So again, online or walk-in participants can purchase additional screenings at the fair. And the cashier supervisor should process these requests. And what you'll do is write in the participant's name and registration number on the form. Put any additional tests that they want on the form by writing in the total dollar amount. Write in the total amount and then the payment method. And then on the registration form, the participant's registration form, put additional tests added with an X and indicate that they were paid for and how they were paid. So again, this is just for additional tests. And I would assume it's mostly for the online registrants.
Mostly, yeah.
Okay. And then at the end of the fair, it's very important that the white copy, the top copy goes to the lab supervisor. And then the yellow copy goes back to the office with all
Goes
the
to the
other.
lab supervisor.
Mhm.
Yes, and then it'll go back to Quest with their supplies. And we do have a question from the chat as well. They're wondering what happens if someone forgets to print out the form after they paid. So this is the online registration area for everyone. So if they forget their form, we do have extra forms in the online registration packet that's sent to the site. If you run out of those, my suggestion is to make copies at the site if there is a printer / copying machine. And then some sites will have, like a handful of sites will have some of our staff members there and we might bring a printer. But I would say the best thing to do is use the copies that we send you. And if you're running low, to make copies there at the site. And then they would just refill in their information. We would mark the tests that they ordered, and then they would continue the process from there.
Okay, and then if there were no add-ons, go ahead and write none in large block letters across the page and give that form also to the lab supervisor, just so that they know that there were no additional tests that need to be run.
And then a follow-up question, where would we see the tests that were paid for? That's on your printed out online reg report that will be given to you by your liaison. So your site coordinator should have it already printed out for the online reg volunteers.
Okay. Thank you. And then, so refunds are the next item. So participants, again, can return to the cashier table to request a refund for a test that could not be completed. For example, they were unable to have their blood drawn, which does happen sometimes. So the refunds should be processed by the cashier supervisor. For the walk-in registrants, all refunds will be processed through the Square terminal. So we do have some procedures coming up. If they paid with a check, find the original check, destroy it, and have them write a new check if there's any balance due. Cash, obviously give cash back. credit and debit card refunds will be processed in the Square terminal. And then for the online registrants, again, no on-site refunds will be given at the fair. We'll do those refunds back here in the office, and then you'll write the information on the refunds form, which is on the next page. So here's the form. At the top of the form, it is split into is for the day of fair registrants, the walk-in registrants, and just write their name, registration number, mark what tests are being refunded, the total amount of the refund, and then the method. And then cash or check will need to be recorded in Square. The credit card refund will need to be done through Square, so that'll happen automatically. And then the bottom of the form is for the online registrants. If they need a refund, write in the participant's name, registration number, again, mark what tests are being refunded, and then we'll take care of that back in the office. At the end of the fair, again, give the white copy to the lab supervisor, and then the yellow copy will go back with all of your forms to the office. And if there are no refunds, just write none and make sure you give that to the lab supervisor. Okay, and then you want to return everything back to the office here. Please do not mail any cash. For your out of metro area fairs, if you can, please try and give all your materials to the fair liaison before you leave the fair, if at all possible. That's the best way to return the materials. If you are shipping supplies and paperwork back, go ahead and get a cashier's check payable to 365 Health. You can take the fee out of the cash, just send in a receipt with the check. Endorse the back of your check. And for all the out of metro area fairs, we will have a prepaid UPS label in your box if you do need to use it. And then just return all of your supplies, cash, checks, vouchers, everything back to the office as soon as possible after your fair. So are there any questions up to this point? So we'll go into the Square terminals and how to process things next.
Okay, doesn't look like we have any questions on Zoom. So yeah, I think we're good to continue.
All right. Right, so the Square terminals, as I said previously, a Wi-Fi network connection is needed. If it's not available, you can use a cell phone hotspot or another hotspot, but you do need a Wi-Fi connection.
And that Wi-Fi needs to be password protected as well. So like some schools and things will have general ones without a password, and we don't want to use those. I don't even think the Squares will work on them. They won't go through.
Has to be a secured network.
Yes.
And again, you know, a couple of weeks beforehand, because sometimes those networks need to be set up specifically for the fair. So that's really important. I would highly recommend you set up the Squares first when you arrive at the fair, turn them on, charge them the night before your fair, because sometimes there are software updates that happen. So you want to make sure that all that happens and occurs and is done before you get to your fair. Signatures may be required for some transactions. I noticed that at Regis. Most transactions don't need a signature, but there are a few that do.
It's the specific card carrier. So it's their settings on whether or not their specific card has a signature.
So, and then use wipes to clean the screen and the sides of the terminal. Don't spray them with any cleaner. The touch screens are sensitive, so just be careful you're not double charging something. And then the screen turns off after 5 minutes. You can just touch the screen, pick it up, and it'll come back on. These are the options for your network: the Wi-Fi, which would be the best, a hotspot, a jetpack. Worst case, last resort, you can operate in offline mode. And then the transactions are stored, and then they're automatically uploaded when it gets connected to a network. In this case, we just don't know that the credit cards were valid. So we just take a chance on bad credit cards in the offline mode, but that is an option. So first step, power them on. The button's on the left side, hold it and release. And the charger will be included with your terminals, so you can charge them up. To set up your squares, as I said the night before, is a good option. Turn it on, check the power bar at the top. If they're not fully charged, charge them. This is the sign-in screen, and your square should already be signed in and set up for your location. But if you do see this screen, you'll need to call me because I will need to give you a verification code in order to get logged on. So that's the information, but give me a call if you see this screen.
And then it's the number.
Yes. So like I said, please do this the night before. Setting up your squares. If you do need to change your location because you're doing multiple fairs and you're keeping the square, this is how you can switch your location. So that's there for your reference.
So Susan, let me know if they are keeping their squares for any future their terminals for any future fairs. So I know not to send them more squares, because otherwise, if I don't know, then I'll send out another box to them, cashier supervisor box.
Okay, we'll have to figure that out.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at the fair, you'll need to connect to the network. And so from the home screen, you'll touch more, swipe up to settings, touch hardware. And then you touch network and you'll find the network from the list. And then you'll enter the password. And hopefully you will be connected. These are the prices. They are all preset in the square. Donations are variable, so you just enter in the donation amount. As I said, the volunteer prices are listed below the regular prices at the discounted amount. And they should be in the same order as a registration form. So to process a credit card or a debit card transaction, all of the steps are basically the same for any kind of payment option. They are all the same. So first step, you touch your screenings that they want, swipe up or down to see all the menu. If there's a donation, you touch the donation, enter in the amount on the keypad, touch add, and then review the sale. You double check all the items. If it's correct, you press the blue bar for charge. And then you can give it to the participant to review and confirm the amounts. And then either they or you can touch confirm and pay, hand the terminal to the participant. And then they can either insert their card, tap their card, swipe their card, or hold their phone up for Google Pay or Apple Pay. And that's it. Then you have an option for receipt. They can have it emailed, text, printed, or no receipt. And if they do want it printed, then in the upper left-hand corner is the print receipt option. And then the terminal will print the receipt and you can just tear it off and hand it to them. And then it'll go back to the main screen. So that is the credit or debit card. For a cash sale, again, it's the same exact steps as the credit card sale. Pick the screenings, add your donation, review, double check the items. And then this time you'll just touch the X in the upper left-hand corner. And then this screen will come up where it says cash. Just select cash. If exact cash is given, you just touch tender. Otherwise, you can enter in the amount of the cash given, then touch tender. The square will tell you how much change to give back to the participant. You just ask the participant again if they want a receipt. If they do your receipt, the screen will go back to the main menu. And then please just remember to record the payment option on the registration form so that we know how that was paid.
Mhm. We have a question from folks on the computer. The first one is, should we print a receipt for all the transactions for their records?
No, that is not required.
And then can you explain the Wi-Fi password in detail if our site is at a school and they have like a guest password, you said that will not work. So the Wi-Fi network needs to be password protected. So you do need to be able to enter in a password before joining the network. If you are joining a network that is not password protected, then you need to find a different mode of internet, whether it's a hotspot or your cell phone has a hotspot. So you would just need to make sure that whatever network you're connected to is password protected. And I would always check the network beforehand, just even if it is password protected, just to verify before the morning of the health fair that the Square machines work on the network. Sometimes we have issues at school, so I would definitely just verify that it works beforehand. Great questions. Keep them coming, folks.
Okay, so that's a cash sale. Then for a check, again, same procedures. Select the screenings, enter your donation, touch review, double check the items, touch the X in the corner, and then you might need to swipe up to the more button. Push more, then you'll select check. And then if you can remember, put the check number in the optional note area and then just touch record payment. If you forget to type in the check number, you don't need to go back and do anything. I can just run reports in the office that shows those notes. So it might be helpful for me later. So that's a check sale. And then again, ask them if they want a receipt, select the option. Screen goes back to the main menu, and just remember to record the payment method on the form.
So there's a question in the chat, and I'm actually, whoever asked it, I'm gonna need you to come off mute. What is considered a cash app? What do you mean, cash app?
Is that like the Google Pay or Apple Pay?
Oh, I think Cash App is more of an app where people transfer money. Or you can just put it in the chat. If you just want to explain to me what you mean by Cash App, we'll answer it for you. Oh, you don't have a mic. No worries. Cash App, maybe Venmo. So people can pay with like Google Pay, Apple Pay. If like, for instance, I have a Venmo credit card, so I could tap pay through the Venmo app. So if they have the tap pay set up, it should work. Otherwise, we would ask them to use their physical card. Let me know if that didn't answer your question. You can put it in the chat.
Okay, so are there any questions so far on credit card, cash, or check transactions? It's pretty straightforward. I think once you do a few, it will be very easy.
At least that's our hope.
That's my goal. That is very easy for you all. So now is a sale with a voucher, and I did change this from the last training. So if you do have the old slides, this is a new method which came up at the Regis Fair. So you can let me know if you like this process. If not, if you have a different process, just let me know. I'm still learning all of this too. So to do a sale with a voucher, what I recommend is that you separate the transaction into two separate transactions. So the first transaction will be the voucher. So select only the screenings that the voucher is going to pay for. So in this example, I've got the blood chemistry and the A1C. And then once you have those, it's the same process again. If correct, touch charge. Then you're going to touch the X. And you'll go down and select more, just like the check option. And then instead of the check, you'll select the other gift card or certificate option. And then if you could, again, type in the participant's name or the registration number in that optional note area. Again, I can run reports back in the office. So that would be helpful. But if you forget, don't worry about it. You don't need to go back and do anything. And then touch the record payment. And then if they would like a receipt for the voucher, pick the option for their receipt. And then that's the voucher transaction. And then for the second transaction, you'll just follow the previous steps to charge the remaining screenings, and they can pay again with the credit, debit card, cash, or check. And then just please remember to record the payment methods on the registration form.
Mhm. We have another question from the chat. They're asking about if an on-site participant, after they paid, they want to go back and add on a test. So asking if they need to fill out a new form. The answer to that question is no. So we do not want them to fill out a new requisition form, whether they're online or on site, because they'd be splitting up their results and getting them in 2 different ways. So that's the purpose for the add-on form that we talked about earlier. So you would mark the new test on the requisition form, and then you would add it on the add-on form, payment, and then they'd go through the fair with their original requisition form with the test added.
Okay, so were there any questions on the voucher process? Hopefully, it will be a simpler process. But again, let me know how it goes for y'all. Okay, so refunds, 2 types of payment, cash and card. Yes,
So the question is, so if they already had paid, we will need to do another transaction of payment. Yes, you would just, you would have them pay for the screening that they're adding on in that moment with however they're looking to pay for it. Can you send out the new screens with updated voucher payments? I'm not sure I understand the
probably the
question.
new slides.
Oh, the new slides. Yes, I will be sending those out right after this training.
And you can do 2 types of payments, cash and card. That would be the split transaction option. Or you could just do 2 transactions, one is cash and one is card. So that might be the easiest way, is just split it into 2 transactions. So hopefully that will work.
Yeah, there is a way to do it like together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the part I took out of these slides.
Okay.
But I can send you the slides that has a split transaction on it, and you can follow through, and I can update that one.
Okay.
Okay, I'll work on that.
Yeah, if folks are doing different ways, just maybe let us know at the end of the season what you found easiest, what worked for you, because these processes are always adaptable in how we
Yes.
do them moving forward. So this is a test season, and we appreciate you all helping.
And I'm, like I said, I'm learning. Okay, so to process a refund is pretty straightforward. From the main screen, you'll select the transaction at the bottom, which is the double arrows, and then select the transaction to be refunded by matching the amount or searching for the receipt number or the credit card number. That's probably going to be the hardest part, is finding the original transaction. And then when you do, you just select it. You'll touch issue refund at the top. And then you'll need to select the items that are being refunded. If it's all items, you just select all items, or you can just select each item that needs to be refunded. Then touch next. And then the square will display how the transaction was originally paid for. So if it was a cash refund, you'll give cash back. Check refund, find the original check, return it to the participant. And again, they might need to write a new check. If not, everything was refunded. Credit, debit card refunds do go back to their card. There are no gift cards that will be issued. The reason for the refund is a canceled order. So you select that, and then you just touch the refund button. And it will say refunded complete. You can print a receipt for the refund. And then again, just make sure you include the refund on the refunds form.
And a refund can be done from any of the squares, right? They don't have to find the specific square that the payment was done on and
Yes.
refund it from that machine. They
Yeah,
can do it from any.
all of the squares will be set to one location, so you'll all be kind of on the same network, so to say, the same location. Yes. So those are refunds. The next step is the reconciliation, which again should be a much easier process. That's my goal.
I have
So,
a quick question
Mhm.
from the audience before we move on. The question is, so searching the receipt, if we are not printing out the receipts, and the customer didn't want one, how should we try to find their transaction for refunds?
For the refund, again, that's gonna be the hardest part, is finding the refund, so you just might have to match the amount that you are refunding. Just look through the transactions and see if you can find the amount that they charged or that they processed the first time. So, yeah,
Okay, sorry, we don't have a better answer for you.
don't,
It's a
and if
little
you-
bit of trial and error.
if you have a recommendation, please let me know on that one.
Well, if you,
Can,
back to originally, earlier on, it says the receipts, the written receipts optional.
mhm,
Mhm.
If we, for our sake, which is what I think we did, we kept every receipt.
I don't remember.
We just made a receipt every time.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, There-
Well,
refunds aren't,
when you're to that
Frequent.
point, the only thing you can do is go to the original transaction number or the original
Right.
person's transaction and check what was done there,
Mhm.
how the
Mhm.
payment was made.
mhm.
And that's the only recourse you have.
Yeah.
You don't have a check, or you don't have cash, or you don't have,
Yeah,
so you gotta go back to the original transaction number.
Mhm.
yeah, so you'll need their form to see what they're having
Right.
refunded, how they paid, what the payment method
Right.
was.
That should show it.
On the registration
Right.
form, yeah.
Mhm. And then someone from the chat is asking, could they search the transactions by card number?
Yes, you should be able to search by credit card number,
Okay,
Mhm.
cool.
so,
So that might make it easier if they paid with card.
yeah.
Perfect.
All right, so the reconciliation, at the end of the fair, you'll print the sales report by touching more and then reports. And then touch the sales and then the share button, which is the square with the arrow, and then print the report. And this is, so then next you'll just, count your cash and your vouchers, and you can use this form to put in your counts. It'll be included in your boxes. And again, please have 2 people count the cash and the vouchers and sign off on the counts. Don't forget to remove your starting cash from the totals before you start counting. And there's space at the bottom if you want to leave me any notes of things that happened. For the checks, again, count the checks. Please have 2 people count the checks and sign off on the counts. Then the reconciliation, on the top part, you'll fill in the totals from your cash, voucher, and check counts from the previous pages. The credit card total will come from your Square sales report, and there's an example on the next page. Just don't include the fees in your total credit card amount. Then add those up, and then you'll fill in the totals at the bottom from the Square sales report. And just know that vouchers are included with checks in other. And then there's an example on the next page that we can go through. So then the total should be the same. If you are off, there are some tips for reconciling on the coming up page. And then please just put all of your cash, checks, vouchers, count sheets, reconciliations, and everything else into the envelope, seal it closed, and include it in your box to return to the office. So here's just a couple sample sales reports from Square. So the net sales is circled there. It will equal the net total payments plus fees. And then the net sales should equal your totals on the reconciliation. So that's the reconciliation.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Can you give me an example of why a fee is processed?
Square charges a fee on every credit card
Oh,
transaction.
okay.
And so those are
okay.
those are the Square fees.
All right,
So just don't include those in your
And that's
totals.
something that we take care of internally, right? That's
Mhm.
not something that participants are
No, it
charged.
should be.
No.
It's a great question.
So any questions on the reconciliation? Should be pretty straightforward is my goal. If you have problems, let me know. So here's just some tips for reconciling. I'm not gonna go through those. And then I did add to how to clear transactions. So if you enter too many transactions, there's 3 different ways you can clear them. There's the 3-dot method. So you touch 3 dots in the top right corner, touch the clear items at the bottom, then touch the X in the top left corner to return to the main menu. So that's if you want to clear all the transactions. That's an easy way to do it. Another way just to delete one line item at a time is swipe left on the item and it will delete it. And then next page. Oh.
There's a question from the chat. So we no longer need to match all the tests on the reconciliation forms.
No, you do not.
Yay.
So one other way to clear transaction is by changing the quantity. So you would just touch the line item to change, and then you can touch the plus or the minus as needed, and then save in the top right corner.
And this process is done like before they're actually charged, right? This is like
Yeah.
when they're
Yeah.
putting the screenings on there and if they did too many or
Mhm.
something.
Yeah,
Okay.
so if you're touching and you touch too many and you need to get rid of one, or they change their mind and you need to clear the whole transaction out.
Okay.
So just different ways to make changes. And then here's procedures to replace your paper roll if you need. Clean up your space. And that's it.
Woohoo.
That
Record
was- I know,
time.
45 minutes, wow.
Record time. All right. So we went through a lot of information. Are there any other questions for folks that are joining us via Zoom on any of the information that we went through today? And as a reminder, I'll send these out right after this meeting so everyone can have the slide deck. And so I think there's more people on here than RSVP'd. So I'm going to email everyone that RSVP'd. And then if you invited other people to this training, I will put you responsible of forwarding those slides on to them. So any questions from folks on Zoom?
And you can always email me
Yes.
at any time, call me. If you're in the area and you want to come in and practice with the squares, let me know and we can set that up for you. Just whatever we need to do to help you out so that you're comfortable with the processes. But again, I think once you've done a few transactions on the square, it's going to be really intuitive on how to do it and will make the process much easier and faster
Mhm.
for you and for me.
I don't see anyone. Oh, go ahead.
Hello.
Hi there.
Thank you. Yeah, the process of returning the cash and all the paper is what I want you to go through again.
What
Since
side are you
will
from?
not be, you say you will not be collecting the money and everything during the day. So how are we going to return them to you?
Great question. I'm curious, what health fair site are you working with?
It's at Kingdom Connection Christian Center, Aurora.
Wonderful. I believe Karen Garcia will be at your fair. So at the end of the fair, if you've counted all your cash checks, got everything, seal up the box and then just hand it right to Karen, and Karen will take it back to our office. If folks are statewide and there won't be a 365 Health staff member at your fair, then we will have included a packing slip in the box with your cashier supplies. So you would follow the process of getting a cashier's check for the cash. So you're not shipping the cash, putting it all in the box, sealing it all up, and then using the packing slip that we sent along with the supplies to send it back to our office. It'll be through UPS. Thank you.
Mhm.
Does that help, Gloria?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Wonderful. Well, if there are no other questions, Susan and I thank you for joining today. So I will send out these slides shortly, and then I will have the training recording out hopefully by Thursday, end of day. So look out for that email as well. But otherwise, have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.